It's time for all your binge-worthy pop culture news. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. And do we have a show for you today? Guys, we're back to talk about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Some of these very suspicious stories that are raising red flags with fans everywhere. And like you know, I can't do this by myself. I always have an opinion on here, and I don't want to just recap the whole show by myself. I want to hear your opinions too. So make sure if you're in the live chat, and welcome Law Nerds, if you guys are in the live chat, get engaged. I will bring up comments, questions, especially if you have any for Emily D. Baker or Jason. And before we get started, if you guys haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button, show some love, and let's bring them up. I feel like that was a monologue, Emily. I was trying to get it together. What am I saying?
It was lovely. I loved that intro. It was fantastic. You kind of, you just handled the thing. Very profesh.
All right. I'll keep you around.
I'm living.
Good morning,
What's up,
Jason.
guys? How's it going?
Good. Okay.
I feel like I got to be a little bit of both. Like I've got the pink and the blue going. So I feel like we match.
I love it.
And
I love it.
Us.
You're a good mix. And this is Jason's first time seeing you in your element. I was telling Jason,
that's right.
We sold our place, so we're in a smaller place. I've talked about this on my live before. But when we move into a bigger spot, I cannot wait to actually do like a full-on studio. I love your studio. I love that you have the shelves. You see the silver play button in the background. You have the colors. I'm jealous.
Yep. I mean, I will give you a whole tour, but it's also my working office. So like the chair where my cats normally hang out back here is also where I sit and read cases. Like it's a set, but it's my office because I don't have room for both. One day I would love to have a set where I can do interviews and stuff. And so you never know. There's plenty of space in Nashville to do that kind of stuff. So
that's true.
I'm hoping somebody will just create like a WeWork for recording where you can just like come in and be like, okay, I'm going to use this set for these 3 days. And you can just come in and rent out the space, kind of like you used to be able to rent conference rooms. I need to be able to rent like studio space. That
was kind of how I did my interview with Fallon. We had a set time and we came into a studio space, and it was kind of nice, and they're not super expensive. So it was lovely. Your interview with Fallon was fire. I know that it helped grow your channel, but you're a great interviewer. So hopefully, Bravo's watching and they're like, hey, we need an MC for BravoCon. And you can't do it all.
Right. Yes. And now we have a whole year to think about that, right?
Well, and we all have to go to BravoCon together, especially now that, Jason, you've joined us on YouTube. But actually, just to be fair, and guys, we'll get to the stuff, like Emily says, we'll get to the stuff, but we bounce around. We can't help but do that when we have Emily D. Baker on the show, #1 legal commentator. I like to add that in. Okay, I do. But, I feel like if I were ever given the opportunity to MC in whatever capacity at BravoCon, I would have Chris Bassett throwing fists at me this way, Erica Girardi running in on me this way. Like, I feel like I would have so many people that I pissed off in the Bravo world that I would need like my own. I would be like Giselle showing up at the reunion with security. No.
I mean, I don't think you're that shady. I think you ask good questions. You don't get super shady and messy. Not that I wouldn't live for it if you did, but you really try to just ask the questions. Sometimes you have people on who get shady. I can do that sometimes.
Yes. See, I agreed to do that when I made my channel. I was like, everybody else out here in these YouTube streets, they're shady as hell. But for me, I'm just going to bring them on to be shady, and I'll be the nice guy, because what people don't know is how shady I am in real life. So,
oh my God. That's a show on its own,
No, I can't reveal myself, but
I mean, it's why on my channel we do facts. Like, yeah, there's plenty of shade in these lawsuits, but I really try. I mean, there are other places where I will bring the shade, but there are plenty of channels that bring the conspiracy theories and, the fuckery, as I call it. But when it comes to what my skills are that are different and unique, I don't drag someone the best. Like, there are people much better at bringing the clever shade than me. I can at least explain the legal proceedings in a way that everybody can understand, so they know what the actual facts are. And then if you want to bring a clever drag, go for it. At least you have the facts with which to do it. And that's something I see being fought about a lot on social media and on Twitter, is people not understanding the whole facts around this and wanting, like, the legal stuff that's underlying this season of Housewives in Beverly Hills and in Salt Lake, wanting that legal mess to fit a narrative, and it doesn't. It's just the legal stuff that it is. It's slow, It's not decisive, and we're not at the end of it yet. So it's not like, oh, see, this is the smoking gun. There isn't yet. I mean, more so with Jen Schaub than with Erika, but Jen's still innocent till proven guilty.
Well,
I mean, she's guilty of bad taste with regard to her tagline, and we'll get to Salt Lake later. But just like Erika's guilty of really shitty tweets and really tone deaf behavior on Instagram. But for the rest of it, we don't know everything yet, and it's going to be a while till we do.
Which, speaking of, you did tell me that I had to go check out Erika's latest tweets, which I'm going to go ahead.
Last night's Twitter had a moment. It had a moment.
Here we go. Okay, so last night, Emily told me to go check out Erika's tweets, and I was looking at them last night, but by the time Real Housewives of Beverly Hills comes on and then Watch What Happens Live, and then, at the end of it, I'm like, I'm going to bed.
At the end of it, you're going to bed, but the West Coast is just getting up for Housewives. Like, Housewives is just coming on the West Coast by the time that you're done with your evening.
Yes.
It's the problem with Twitter. It's like, it's the same with trying to cover some YouTube drama. Most of the drama is in California, and it all pops off so late, and you wake up in the morning and you're like, what happened last night?
When I did my internship it was another place called Pop Stop TV. I used to have to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning to cover news with the host, and the owner was named Shishi Yang. She now works for E! Entertainment, but she'd be like, you need to be up by 4 o'clock because the East Coast is up and they're doing stuff by 7 a.m. So we need to be up by 4 a.m. I'm like, I'm leaving SUR at night at like 2 a.m. I can't be up by 5 a.m. But I was doing it until eventually I stopped. And then she said, don't overcommit and underdeliver, which was a whole thing in itself. But that's okay.
However, good life advice. I'm sure you didn't, but very good life advice.
Very good life advice.
Bite off more than you can chew. But it's hard. When I was working, doing legal stuff in California, I always felt bad because by the time I'm up and working and kids are in school, it's like noon on the East Coast and they're like, where are you? I'm like, I'm just getting up. Like, just take a breath. Being in Central Time is lovely. It's my favorite.
Oh, I bet.
You're like, sorry guys, I have a life too. And
right
kids,
in the middle.
and shit to do.
All right, bring up Twitter. Let's talk about it all. Mention it all.
So talking about good life advice, one of the things that would probably be the best to digest here, Billie Eilish said this, is take your feelings and stick them somewhere else besides social media, because that shit stays up online forever. Even when you delete it, people screenshot it, which is exactly what I just did. Erika Girardi said, felt great watching this when someone said Team Erika, but only to her face. What is she?
The comments were so interesting under that because they were like, look, at least Sutton had the respect to tell you to your face that she had questions. She didn't tell you to your face everything was good and then go laugh at you behind her back. I think the sad face emoji meant that this really hurt her feelings.
I agree with you.
She does have.
I agree with you. And was I the only one who thought, and mind you, in California, marijuana is legal. Are
you about to say that Maurizio was high as fuck last night?
Because he was high as fuck.
Because he was high as fuck, and it's not the first time.
Correct.
This is not.
It is not. Do you remember the dinner where he's just like,
yeah, yes, and he was
laughing
at him.
He's an edibles guy, and he doesn't quite know when it's going to hit him, and then it does, and he's just like.
No, she definitely. You could tell she definitely probably felt like shit watching her friends kind of make fun of her, make light of the situation. But to be fair, I do want to bring this up. As we went through the episode, and again, guys, if you haven't smashed the like button, smash the like button, and welcome to Law Nerds. We started off this episode at some point with Erika Girardi sharing this story with Kyle Richards. She said, and we've heard about this in headlines, Tom Girardi's house was burglarized, and he confronted the burglar. So when he did, somehow after that, he confronted the burglar. Then he ended up in the hospital, and he had to get something done with his eye. Her son, I guess, who is a police officer, showed up to help him and then drove home and rolled his car 5 times. Kyle was like, what the hell? I just got whiplash from this story. And I'm sitting here thinking, this is a lot to digest. Now, I'm not saying that it can't be true, but it's a lot of information. The house is burglarized, Alzheimer's and dementia. Now you're getting eye surgery. There was a car accident where Tom needs to get brain surgery or surgery on something. But then now we're talking about his clavicle. Emily?
I don't know. Like, I had so many questions. There was so much information, but still not any information in all of those sentences. It was like, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, I'm stressed. And then it was like her face totally shut down. And she was like, and I'm not talking about this. There was no emotion on her face when she was talking about her son getting hurt. Like there are still times that I talk about my kid breaking an arm or what have you, that still brings back like the fear of that moment when I retell those stories. So I imagine as a mom, that doesn't go away even when your children are adults. I imagine that there's still fear there. And I heard nothing from her voice when she was talking about her kid flipping his car. Now, a divorced spouse can be a totally different situation. There's a lot there, but to not see any response and any emotion on her face when she was talking about her kid in a potentially life-threatening crash, flipping your car once is dramatic. Flipping your car 5 times and walking away, I've got a lot of questions about that because I've seen some pretty gnarly car accidents in my day just working at the DA's office. I've never seen flips like that without a scratch ever because it smashes in the whole car.
Right. I have questions too here. Before I ask them, Jason, what were your thoughts on this story that Erika was feeding Kyle?
Well, I mean, like Emily just said, it was one thing after another. The sky is falling. Like I can't see, like everything was just happening. But this has been my problem with Erika since the beginning of the season. When the victims are brought up, when anything's brought up, there is no emotion. There's no remorse. There's no sign of like, nothing. I get nothing from Erika. I know people call her the Ice Queen. I know she's supposed to be cold, but I don't get anything from her. And it only just makes me think, I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
But do you give her a pass though for not we get that she's not showing emotion and remorse towards the victims, but then she's also not showing emotion towards her own son, like Emily said. So maybe this is just her.
I mean, but how did she find out, Emily? How did she find out about the whole Tom house getting burglarized?
She didn't say. I have no idea. I don't know. And doesn't the house have a security system?
You would think.
You would think that a security alarm would go off or something and that she would be called by security. She kind of said that that he called her. Like at one point she was like, he said, indicating that she had talked, and then she moved quickly on from that. It's one of those things where I'm going to need like a transcript to go through exactly what was said because it was so much. Sarah Smile in the chat is saying the police called her, but did the police go to the house? Like, how did they know? Did Tom call the police? If Tom called the police, then there should be a record of that because people can do Public Information Act requests to get that 911 call. I imagine that people or Us Weekly or someone would have done that if that existed. They normally do go after that kind of stuff. So it's just interesting to me. We also didn't get a ton of information about this until later. People thought that it was staged. It's just very interesting. And I couldn't tell that when she said the police let her know if she was talking about her son or Tom. It was a very...
Right, because she did say, someone in the chat just said that she got the call at 3 a.m., but she didn't see it till 6 or something like that.
And I couldn't tell if that was about the robbery or if that was about the car flipping. And I couldn't tell if the car flipping happened on the way to go help Tom or the way to go home. Like, it just didn't make a ton of sense to me. The whole thing. And then the he confronted them and then he needed surgery, but it didn't seem like the two were maybe connected.
The way that she presented it, it was confusing.
Yes. And I think that is because maybe not everything's connected. It was a lot.
It was a lot.
And I again, I don't ever know what gets cut and not with production, but it seemed like that was the whole story by the way that Kyle was reacting in the moment. Like, wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, what?
Exactly.
It didn't seem that Erika answered anymore.
No.
It was like, Erika, I felt like Erika's like, I've been open. I am done now.
She's like, you guys asked me to be open. I gave you this monologue and here we go.
And I am done.
Megan Sue, thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you. 3 of my favorite YouTubers, Ad Zach and Kimpire, and I'll be ecstatic. So Emily, I have to ask this question again because people keep talking about Erika being criminally charged, which she is not. But I think you said with Tom being in a conservatorship, that would be difficult, correct? So you mean Tom being criminally charged?
No, I think Erika and Tom being criminally charged is difficult because of his conservatorship, because unless we see more, she could have been aiding the things that he was doing, but it's very difficult to charge the person aiding and abetting and not charge the person doing the things. It's very difficult for jurors to wrap their heads around. It's like, right, but we want the person in front of us that did the things, not just the person that helped. So it can be very difficult for prosecutors to go after. We know this has been referred to the AUSAs. I think, and I stand by this until I have more information. I think if we see anything really big coming out of this, it's going to be tax consequences and potentially criminal tax consequences. And that would be easier to go about than something for the embezzlement and misappropriation of client funds and stuff that she did not seemingly at this point have a direct hand in. She benefited from, for sure, but we don't have evidence that she had a direct hand in taking the money out of the law firm. She was just spending it. Tom was the one taking it out and putting it in different places. So I think tax consequences are the biggest consequences we will see, and that can take years.
Well, question for you though, obviously we've heard there's been a lot of speculation that people think that, this could be a very clever play on Tom Girardi's part to not be criminally charged. But if this is all speculation, because from what we know, he's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and late onset dementia, right? Or late onset Alzheimer's and early dementia, something like that. But he has been diagnosed with this. Could this have also, if this were to be someone's plan or ploy to get out of being criminally charged, could there have been that thought of, well, I will play my cards this way, and that way you and I are both protected, because they would have to go after me to go after you. And if I say this, then you're not going to be criminally charged. You're okay.
I mean, have people ever worked together to avoid criminal liability? Yes. Does Tom... I believe, based on everything we've seen, that Tom is very savvy in running directly into the loopholes that he can find to avoid liability. He's done this in the legal malpractice cases for years. I really hope that the LA Times gets their public records request granted by the California Supreme Court, because they want to look into all of the different complaints against Tom Girardi. But a lot of these lawsuits came up, and by the time people brought them, the courts were like, oh, you're outside of the statute of limitations. So to me, it looked like, from everything we know, Tom was stringing people along until they finally said enough is enough and sued him to get their money back. And then they sued too late and were outside of the limitations period and could not sue him. So I think Tom is very savvy in the things that he does to avoid liability. Did he pull Erika into that? Anything is possible. Will we know that? I mean, if there's evidence of it, if a criminal investigation starts, they're going to eventually get everybody's phone records and they'll see how much they were talking. They're going to grab emails. They're going to grab all of that stuff. And if they can prove that there was a kind of conspiracy there, they will go after it. Sometimes those things can be hard to prove. So, I mean, until we have more, I don't know. Did Erika's story of leaving in the middle of the night seem believable? I mean, it seemed the most believable of anything she said this season, really, other than like, I took the baccarat and ran. Like that rang very true to me when she was talking about it. Like, I packed everything up and just went. But could that have been a plan with Tom too? Maybe.
Okay, so Jason, do you have any questions about this? Or
No, I'm loving listening to this. So
okay, yeah, I get so invested because I watch like crime TV all day when I'm not watching Housewives, and like Wives with Knives and How I Got Away with Killing My Spouse, all kinds of shit. So I know what you're thinking.
Jason, just be mindful. This is what
I am, but I've always told him I'm going to get him first. So
oh, that's great. But Emily, so I have a question for you. Does the IRS give a shit if Tom Girardi is diagnosed with Alzheimer's? Are they like, okay, that's a different ballgame? You might be, They might look at it this way, but we're the IRS. We're the only agency that can go into your bank account, shut you down, do whatever we want. Do they care?
No, numbers don't lie. And generally you don't need the same kind of intent. It's like, oh, is this your tax return? Did you sign it? Do you owe this money? Even if they don't go after it criminally, they can still go after the financial, and they can go after the accountants too, depending on what was going on. So yeah, that I think can still come, even if even if they don't go after it criminally, which the IRS can, they can go after criminal prosecutions with the U.S. Attorney's Office. But even if they don't, they can still go after the money. So I think the biggest consequences, again, will come with the tax consequences. We already know there's tax liens to the Franchise Tax Board, which is the tax wing in the state of California. They can also initiate criminal prosecutions by taking reports to the DA's office. They have their own investigators that are armed law enforcement at both the FTB and the IRS. So does the IRS care? Oh, yes. There are IRS agents going, please let me look into the Girardis. Just like I'm sure there were when everything started with the Giudices. They're like, oh, look at her with these giant wads of cash buying furniture. That seems suspicious. Let's go take a peek into what they're doing, and found the loan documents that they allege were fraudulent and landed both of the Giudices in jail.
I was about to say really quick off topic. Mia Thornton said the other day on Watch What Happens Live that she went and bought a car with $180,000 cash. And I'm like, have you learned nothing? Or hello, newbie, freshman year. Shh.
And there's one thing to like finance your own vehicle. There's nothing to bring. There's another thing to bring like a suitcase of actual cash, because those transactions are harder to trace. And this is something that's alleged against Jen Shaw too, is that these transactions, once they're cash, are much harder to trace. So throwing around a lot of cash is different than like, oh yeah, I paid cash for it. And what she really means is like, I wrote a check out of my bank account and it was all trackable. But some people refer to buying a car cash as not needing financing for it.
Got it.
Different than Teresa pulling out literally wads of money at this furniture store and slapping down hundreds.
All right. Well, Megan Sue said, I don't think she would lie about her son. Do you? I think there's stuff missing from that story. I think there's stuff missing from that story too. I honestly, it's not necessarily adding up to me. No, it's not adding up to me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on. Again, guys, if you haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button. I'm going to move on to these two because they were our comedic relief of the night. Maurizio obviously looks like he's stoned as shit, and PK has questions. Dorit is over here trying to say she believes Erika Girardi and her stories. Even though they sound bonkers, she's like, I have no reason not to believe Erika. PK is looking at this like, Dorit, don't be so naive. I feel like she's been in a controlling marriage for over 20 years, and I think she's still being controlled. To where Maurizio...
PK's coming through with the truth bombs.
He really is.
I don't always like PK, but this season, I'm like, yep, not wrong. Yep. I also loved... We'll get there, but at the wedding dress party, I love that PK was like, I'm not allowed to have a martini unless I drink because I say shit. And I was like, I love that conversation's happening, because you know that it is. I wonder what the conversation is between Kyle and Maurizio with him being high on TV. I really do. I wonder what those
yesterday too. He was like, when we were watching it, he's like, PK, I feel like is saving this episode for me because he's saying all of the shit that we're all thinking. And I'm like, oh, well, you're not wrong, Jason.
True.
100%.
So
not wrong.
I feel like the women were a little mortified that the husbands were making fun so hard of what was going on with Erika, but they raised good questions. But I do feel like they were embarrassed. Both of them were like, this isn't, I'm not here. I'm not making fun of Erika, because they know they're going to have to account for it at the well, I mean, you know,
their
at the reunion.
Their faces.
Yeah, Kyle's like, it's hilarious, but I don't want to laugh.
She's like, I'm going to have to pay for this at the reunion. Now I'm going to be held accountable because you guys are sitting here making, you know, she's probably thinking in her head, we're supposed to make fun of her off camera, not on camera.
What the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then PK trying to bring it up again to Erika's face.
He's shady as hell.
I'm here for PK. He might be the reason that Dorit gets another season.
Yeah, you know, Dorit dropped the ball at the beginning.
Interesting than Dorit is.
Now PK.
Oh my gosh, 100%. You know, I wanted to give her credit because she like looked kind of decent last night, and then when she started saying, "I don't really think Erika's lying about everything or about certain things," I was just like, "Are you listening to yourself?" Because her and Kyle, to me, are like lane changers. They will switch lanes anytime. You know, no one picks a lane. No one stands behind anything they say. Those two especially, Dorit and Kyle.
I feel like so it benefits them.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I mean, they don't want to be crucified at the reunion. So like you said, they're lane changers. And Emily corrected me last week by saying, I said, I feel like she's walking a line. You're like, I don't feel like she's walking a fucking line. I feel like she's zigzagging all over the place.
She's jumping back and forth depending on who she's with, to which side of the line she wants to be on. But I really do feel that Kyle's been on the show long enough to stand in an opinion and have to deal with it. I think Kyle is a middle child and wants to avoid confrontation. Like that's how she.
I mean, the last time she had an opinion, look how that ended up. Everyone turned against her, the Lisa Vanderpump and all of that. It was. I think she's being very, very careful.
But she stood up to LVP over something that was so much less significant than what's going on with Erika, and it's just like, where is the same energy? These women want to pick their battles and like go to the grave with them over stupid shit. And then when actual shit's happening on the show, they're all like, la, 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 la. I don't hear it. And Garcelle's sitting there going, why are none of you seeing this? I love Garcelle.
Well, and Garcelle I'll get to that in a second. Bethany has just come out to say that she warned Rinna, Andy, and Kyle 4 years ago that Tom and Erika were frauds, so their surprise is all a lie. I heard about that.
She didn't believe them. I would be interested to see what Bethany said. That's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, Bethany
same.
Bethany is very straightforward, and she honestly, out of all of the housewives, she would be the one person. Like, I wish Bethany was on this season because she would look at Erika and be like, "This shit's not adding up." She'd be erratic. She'd be emotional. She'd be everything.
Angry.
Everything. Allie, the mama bear, said, Emily, can the court request a second mental assessment for Tom? That's a great question, Allie. That's what I was going to ask, and then I got sidetracked. Assessment for Tom, and they use a court-appointed doctor and not a non-biased doctor.
They did use a court-appointed doctor. Tom has had an evaluation by a court-appointed doctor and by court-appointed counsel. Now, if you are watching my other coverage with regard to conservatorships in California, how you may feel about whether that is on the up and up or not may vary, but they have done that. I don't think the court will order more because they're not trying to get to the heart of whether or not he has dementia. The court has 2 reports in front of it that says he has cognitive impairment, and they have a family member asking for a conservatorship and Tom not objecting to the conservatorship. They're not going to look into it more. That's really not their job. They're not going to investigate further on that. So could they do it? Yes. Will they do it? No. They've already made the conservatorship permanent.
Okay. But that was a good question. I had the same question. And Ghostly Gamer, thank you for the super chat. Why are there different signatures from Erika on documents?
I honestly don't think all of them are her signature. I think Tom would sign some of them for her. In a 20-year marriage, I will say that that's not uncommon. I know plenty of friends who have said to their spouses, oh, yeah, taxes are due. Just sign it for me. It's fine. Though you're not supposed to. The reality of a marriage that long is that people do that. I think that there are things that Tom signed on her behalf that she might not have known about because they're not notarized. There are the things that are notarized. Her signature looks different than some of the other things.
I agree with that. Okay.
So, I mean, I'm not going to say she signed all of them because that has to, again, for the court level, that has to be proven. Someone either has to have seen her sign it or she has to admit to signing it, or they're never going to prove she signed it. Handwriting isn't going to fly. It's not notarized. So any document she signed that you don't have another person to say, I watched her do it, or her to say, yes, I signed it, they're not going to be able to prove she signed it in court.
Of course they can't. Okay.
Well, they should have notarized it. And he used the same notary. I don't know if this was a notary in his building, but all of the notarized documents are the same notary. It wouldn't have been hard to do. But then Erika would have had to have been present and notarized and signed things for the notary to stamp and send. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to get back to the Erika stuff in a second. I do have a couple questions for you both. When it comes to last night's episode, we had, I guess, a moment, a breath of fresh air, whatever you want to call it. Dorit has been sued by her business partner allegedly in the past, right? But now she has a new business partner, and she's selling $35,000 wedding gowns, which kind of blew my mind. But I do want to ask.
I mean, the price tag definitely blew my mind. I'm like, this is some balls to come out here with $35,000 dresses in a pandemic. Get it, Dorit?
Yeah. I'm like, this is $35,000. That's like when listen, I am an avid say yes to the dress watcher. And when I watch, and there's like a handful of people, like a small amount that come in and say, I have no budget. And a $35,000 dress is like, I have no budget. Okay.
Yeah, those were interesting to look at. I mean, I was a bit confused because Nectaria, or whoever she was FaceTiming, the fashion designer, I'm not sure who the actual designer is. I've never seen Dorit on the show start a project and actually like kind of finish it. It's always like, oh, I've been working on this swimsuit collection, Beverly Beach, which I wondered what happened to. So I browsed the website today. Everything is on sale, 50% off, everything. And it was kind of a brand that got lost. And then now we have this new Beverly dresses, or Dorit and Nectaria. But who is Nectaria? Is Dorit kind of just the creative director and this girl? I mean, but they labeled her as a fashion designer, not like a pattern maker or anything. So I'm not sure where these designs come from. And for $35,000, some of them were nice, but come on, they kind of
didn't
really
like
give me 30. They didn't. No, they didn't.
$35,000 dresses look like, but they showed the sketches. And I think they were trying to pass it as Dorit had made those sketches. I don't think those were Dorit sketches. I think Dorit was like, I want one that's kind of like this. I want one that's kind of like this. I want one that's kind of like that. Yeah. But I will say, in the screenshot that you pulled up, I'm actively seeking that wallpaper for one of the rooms in my house because of everything. That wallpaper is fire and I love it. So
that's because she didn't design that house.
I mean, the wallpaper is so good. It's so good. I love it. So
you like something about Dorit, and it's her wallpaper. Okay.
I like that Dorit doesn't care. I like that she will go head to toe with a particular designer. Dorit just screams kind of new money brashness. I find it amusing. I don't know if she designed the dresses or not. She puts on a fun party. She wears her hair the way I did in the 90s with the two little spits coming down the front. I've got to find an old prom picture because that's what we all did. And I'm kind of loving that she's trying to bring it back. I'm like, good.
It kind of flat iron girls a little bit.
Well, the thing is too, is like now we all know who this Nectaria woman is. So maybe she's just going to launch her own line, and there you go. I guess it benefits both of them.
Maybe she has her own line, and this is just Dorit coming in.
Or maybe that too. Yeah. Well, here's 6 of my worst dresses, Dorit. You can have these.
No,
give me a piece of the pie.
I thought some of them were pretty. I don't know if she's going to. I don't know if she's going to sell more than one of each. I don't know if this is going to be a line that's sold in. Like, where are we selling this? Like, where are you selling $35,000 dresses?
I mean, Jesus just said the same thing. Who does Dorit think she is? Vera Wang. But like that's the question. Where are we selling these? But to be fair, Kyle, her store was Kyle by Aline too. So she, or Kyle and Shahida, ex Shahida, when she had that line that she put out there. They all kind of do it. I feel like they team up with the designer, LVP X Nick Elaine. Like they all find really the brain behind it, and they kind of add the business and the public figure to it, and then boom, you have a collaboration.
I do have to say, with a collab.
Yeah,
with LVP and Nick Elaine, because we know that whole thing. We saw it, witnessed it firsthand happening. Lisa is very, very involved in that. Very involved in the design and the picking out of things. She is. I mean, Nick Elaine is a genius, but she is involved. It's not like she's just having him sketch some stuff, somewhere else and trying to sell it as Vanderpump. But yeah, she's a little more particular.
Yeah, she's
very deep. How involved do we think Rinna was in the Dusters?
I don't think. I think that was another attached to the name. How involved was she?
I think she loved them, though. She sold the shit out of them. Rinna can sell just about anything. And I love that Rinna knows her audience. She's like, look, people love me on soap operas. They love me here. I don't want a $35,000 dress. I want a piece of something that everyone can buy. I thought the lip kit was interesting. I haven't seen that sold everywhere or anywhere either. But I thought it was an interesting take. I thought the Dusters... I thought the Dusters were fun because she loves selling them. And Kyle had those the flowy kind of cans for a while too.
It's like Lisa Barlow's Vita Tequila.
Vita Tequila. It's any of Lisa Barlow's brands. She has many, many, many brands. You can't find them anywhere. I talk about this all the time. I talk about it on my channel.
The IRS is curious about that too.
Oh, right. But I shade Vita Tequila all the time. I've never seen it anywhere. We have friends in LA. You can pick it up at like one store in Woodland Hills. That's all I've ever found. You can't find it anywhere. And even when we message her and she messages, oh, it's at Total Wine. It is where you are. Don't worry. It will be there. It's never been there. She thinks. You know what the thing is, though, is Lisa Vanderpump, she knows where her rosé is. You know, like Bethany knows where Skinny Girl is.
Everywhere.
You know, where can you get everywhere. It? Here. She'll tell you exactly where. Lisa Parlow, I think Total Wine, maybe. I'm not sure. You can't even order it online.
That is sketchy, and we'll get into that in a little bit. We're going to have to talk Salt Lake City because I'm so curious to pick Emily D. Baker's brain about that. Megan Sue said, am I alone that I want the exact same cast next season? No, not for – I agree. I want the same cast next season too. I feel like
we have to see it. We have to see the aftermath play out of all of this. Jason was like,
No, you want to cut Crystal.
Crystal Boring Minkoff. I wanted to really like her when she came on the show. She, for me, and I've said this a million times, I've said it on Zach's podcast, I said it on Dana's podcast last night. She is, for me, the new Teddy. I don't know if I really want to see her next season. Like, her husband coming in for maybe 5 seconds of the episode last night had more mystique than she does. Like, you know, but that's not enough reason to keep her on the show.
I want to see them finish their game room.
Oh my God.
That looks stunning. The one that started at it's a 6-figure project, and then it went to it's going to cost us $1 million. So, but we got a great deal now. It's only $555,000. Are you just throwing these numbers out to sound like a little snoot in front of Kyle? Like, who are you trying to be? You're not paying for it anyway. Your husband is.
Also, Kyle and Maurizio have bucks. So I don't think that it's really I don't know. But the fact that they have to dig into the ground just to make it a little bit deeper, the floor to ceiling, like this height a little bit more because he's so tall just for a golf simulator. I'm like, you guys
just go play golf. Don't you live? Aren't you a member of a golf club or a country club?
How big is their yard? Why can't he just go hit balls outside? Like, really?
Right.
Like get a little cage thing. Their yard seemed pretty large when they did the wine tasting there. I think this is a COVID. People are just bored. Like, he just doesn't want to go to Topgolf and thought that this would be a great idea. Like, I get it. I want a cocktail pool in my yard so I can just stand around and drink in the pool at my house and not go anywhere. I get it. Like, I get these desires. But we'll see.
I just wanted a nice glass of wine when I was going through COVID. So that's all. I don't have really expensive desires. I get when she said, I'm frugal. I like $95,000 Hermes bags, but then they, could eventually be worth more in the future. So if there's, if you look up frugal in the dictionary, there's probably going to be a face or my face next to it. I'm like, no, girl, I'm frugal.
I lived for that justification of like, I'm buying assets. They appreciate and you can sell them for more. And I will say, with the way that luxury handbags have gone lately, because this is also me justifying my life, a lot of the bags have increased 15 to 20%. And so the resale on them is higher than the original purchase price. It's insane.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Trust
crazy. Me. I got a Chanel single flap that's just sitting in my closet, waiting to have its moment to get resold.
That's why, I didn't necessarily understand, and not to get into all of this, but like I saw one time where people were commenting on my live chat with Ronald, and they were saying, he said, I have no interest in her things or looking into the bags and stuff like that at one point. And then people in the live chat were like, no, bags have value. Look at the bags. There's a lot of money in this closet. And obviously from what Crystal's saying, that rings true. So.
It's a lot of money. The Hermes bags are running from, I haven't really kept a close eye on what Erika has, but Chanel's gone up almost 30% lately. And with COVID shutdowns, there is a lot of void right now in the luxury purse market because things were just not getting manufactured. My sales associate at Vuitton, who I absolutely adore, is like, no, we are out of like everything and you cannot get it because they just weren't being made. So there's definitely a vacuum right now. If they were going to auction off Erika's closet, they would bring in a ton of money.
And not only that, yeah, exactly. And for Hermes, and she does have Hermes Birkins, those you have to be invited to even buy those. You can't just walk in Hermes and be like, I want a Birkin. That's not how that works for anybody.
Not unless you're super, super fucking famous. But no, generally for the average people, you have to purchase your way up to be invited to buy an Hermes. So you have to spend enough money with the brand on other things to be allowed to access one of those bags unless you buy it on the resale market.
What a great way to, what great marketing, because the bougie people out there are like, oh, you think I can't fucking afford a Birkin? Watch this. I'm going to drop $30,000 in your store and show you I can afford it. And they're like, great, do that. And then you can buy $100,000 bag. Fantastic. Go ahead.
These brands track how much you spend with them, and your opportunities kind of unlock the more you spend with a particular brand, which is why you'll see a lot of people pick one, unless you're Dorit and you just pick all of them. But, you know, we see like the Kardashians and their love for Balenciaga. And Balenciaga, I think of all of the luxury brands, just trolls people. They're like, oh, you know, the bag you get from IKEA, we made that too. And you can buy it for $15,000. Like, oh, Kim Kardashian, beautiful woman. We're going to dress her in a sock. It's going to be great. Like, they just troll people. It's ridiculous. They made a shirt with a shirt on it that just, God love them for trolling. Anyway, back to Housewives talk.
Fucking
Hello, Mooney Magoo.
Mooney Magoo, your channel, Law Nerd here. Question, wouldn't this be reported as big news by all news outlets because of status?
I'm assuming they mean the Tom's accident surgery or the son's car flip over.
And
I would think that we would have heard about some of it.
Right. Well, we heard about
the robbery.
Yeah, we heard about the robbery, but there again, I feel like
the details are sketch.
Is there nobody out there who's looking into this, just to get back to it? Like, nobody out there who's looking into an accident report? I mean, even the LA Times, the writers who did the article that came out on the show, they said, we contacted the Pasadena police and there was no accident report when it came to Tom Girardi's accident. But just to be fair, and I'll ask both of you this, they were making fun of it last night, but it's kind of true. If I was in an accident, and hopefully that doesn't happen, but I needed some sort of surgery or procedure done on my head or brain, I don't think Jason would walk in and be like, no, don't do that. Even though that's probably what you should do, don't do that. And the girls made sense. They're like, this isn't adding up. I mean, I hope Jason wouldn't do that to me. But
yeah, but how does Erika know what he needs? I mean, the doctors are telling you something, so
yeah.
She's like, oh yeah, I remember that's not a good surgery. You shouldn't do that.
I don't know if someone that was older who had a head trauma, who needed surgery, a lot of those surgeries would just be pressure relieving on the brain, who needed that the doctors would heed to a spouse saying, don't do that. It's suspicious to me, but I know people who were at the hospital when Tom came in and did have like a broken shoulder, broken clavicle, broken ankle. But I never heard anything about, because a brain trauma would trump all of that. So I don't know how much the head trauma is. I feel like they're trying to pin it to, look, all of this started going wrong when he had this accident, and that's where the decline came in. I don't necessarily believe that. And the behavior that's been going on with Tom Girardi and his clients has tracked back over the lawsuits that have come out of it for 20 plus years. So it's not just, 3 years ago there was this accident and everything changed. No. Right.
And, you know, to be fair too, you're not the only one who has said this about the accident. Like Kimberly Archie, who was on the Housewife and the Hustler documentary, she even said, you know, I remember when that accident happened too. And she has no reason to defend anything that he's saying, because as we've seen, you know, she's still fighting for the Rui Gomez family to get their money. And she was kind of like a man on the inside, or a woman on the inside. But I do have a question before we move on. We see in the teaser, the upcoming teaser, where Erika is talking to the women and she says, you know, Tom was left, you know, unconscious for 12 hours allegedly. And Kyle's like, wait a minute, why are we saying allegedly? Why? I thought you said you knew this happened. Why are you saying allegedly now? What would be the point of that?
I don't know. I don't know if she's trying to distance herself from the statement that she made. I don't know if she doesn't remember exactly the statement that she made. But yeah, she's saying, well, yeah, that's basically saying, yeah, that's what I heard. You said you found him. So nothing is going to add up in all of this, I don't think. And we're all going to be left very frustrated, because we're all going to be like, no, I want to understand what happened. And there is no understanding. It is very, very suspicious. It's weird. It's just, It's weird and it doesn't make sense. And if he was laying unconscious somewhere for 12 hours, yeah, that would have been a huge problem. But then if that happened and there was brain trauma, why didn't any of the lawyers at his firm say anything? Like, did he disappear from his cases for that period of time? Why isn't anyone coming forward saying, yeah, he was out of the office for months? Like, that's a pretty traumatic event.
Right. Yeah.
I feel like
after a week.
Yeah, I feel like there would have been more from that.
Okay. Well, I do want to ask both of you this, because in an interview, actually it was on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills after show, Suttons Statement said that when they did the Dinner Party from Hell Part 2, that not only did Erika threaten her, promise her, whatever, she also whispered something under her breath that Suttons said she will never repeat. But it left her speechless and she was scared as hell. So when she said this, I'm curious. Ooh, that's a very pixelated photo. What do you think that she whispered under her breath that Sutton is afraid to repeat?
God, it could be so many things. I don't even know.
The first thing
I wouldn't even know where to start.
You guys are bury you in Santa Monica. They'll never figure it out. No shade to the lovely men and women of Santa Monica PD, but kind of. It's not an LAPD jurisdiction, so maybe her son wouldn't be like looped into it. I mean, says the former prosecutor, I'll bury you in Santa Monica and they'll never figure it out. Maybe that's what it is. Or she threatened her with Tom, or she said, you know, you don't know the hell that I'm living, but I will show you. I mean, I don't think I can only imagine she threatened her. Or Erika said, look, if you keep going down this route, it's going to get real bad for me and we're all going to end up in jail.
Do you think, I mean, how did they not catch this on the hot mic unless Bravo just decided, oh shit, we can't let that air?
I don't know.
Well, can they bring it to the reunion?
Yeah.
That would be great.
They want.
I hope they do that, because now that we all know about it.
Well, and I don't know, Emily, if you've heard this, but we just heard a source told The Sun that pretty much Andy Cohen had a lot of heat on him from the network to go into this reunion and go as hard as possible on Erika, because this is one of the most highly anticipated reunions of any of the franchises. So they know the ratings are going to be great. And the network is like, we need you to get in there. There is a chance, a possibility that Erika might get pissed off with your questions and walk off set. So we need you to go in, ask the hard-hitting questions right out of the gate, and just, sorry, Erika, this is a part of your job. I mean, does that, it didn't.
I hope we see that. You know, we've been promised many things at reunions before that it's going to be like this. Andy has promised things before and the delivery has been disappointing. So I hope we see that. I think everyone wants to see it. We've been, you know, trying to stay on this the whole season, and we need some kind of conclusion.
And I think there's a way to question Erika again without indicating that she's somehow directly at fault. And I say that because, again, the actions that were taken, the money that was taken, Tom did that. He was the lawyer that did it. The other lawyers in his firm, I really have a lot of questions about what they knew and why they didn't stop anything and how afraid of Tom they might have been. Erika benefited from all of it, but she wasn't the one writing the checks out of the bank account. She's going to be left holding a crater. I think a crater of debt and the kind of the public ire for what her husband did. She's in this too because she benefited from it. And I think Andy can go in with tough questions while still showing some empathy, more than Erika has shown towards anyone other than herself. But I think there is a way to come at it with, your husband of 20 years did all of this. How betrayed are you? Did you know? How horrified are you? When did you see a decline? Why did the other lawyers not do anything? I think there's a lot of questions there that don't put her in the center of it, but still ask the hard questions. And I think Andy has the chops to do that. Whether he will or not, I guess we'll see.
I agree. And I don't know if you caught this last night, but on Watch What Happens Live, they had Lisa Rinna and Sarah Paulson. And when they did, Lisa Rinna was, you know, asked by Andy Cohen, he said, do you think that Erika came through during the reunion? And she said, yeah, honestly, I feel like you asked her questions that nobody's heard about. Nobody's heard, these answers or these responses. Nobody's heard these questions. Erika got emotional, and Andy said she answered 98% of the questions. So I was shocked by that. Honestly,
I was shocked why Lisa Rinna is back on Watch What Happens Live.
Yes.
Wasn't she just on?
Yes.
Yeah, but Sarah Paulson
Andy loves. Oh, no. Really? Is that what happened?
Okay. Yeah, Sarah Paulson wanted her to be the other guest on with her because Sarah Paulson is a huge Lisa Rinna fan, which is the only disappointing thing to me about Sarah Paulson.
At least she didn't wear green screen this time. She came naked instead. So
right.
Yes, she did. And she also, for anyone who didn't catch it, she issued an apology last night to Denise Richards for the first time ever. So
it looks like we're going to get Denise next season, or what do you think?
They won't bring Denise. Denise was too boring, and they gave her $4 million for 4 years. She only made 2 years, and she wasn't worth the $4 million, to be honest with you.
Well, the first season she kind of was, and then she watched herself back and went, oh, fuck. Maybe I should stick to scripted.
She's like, I'm talking about my husband big, and
she reminded me a lot of me and my friends when we were in our 20s and drunk and just like with no propriety at all. And things you just can't do when your husband also owns a business. It's just,
oof. Yeah. And now all of the women are going to be lining up at his practice being like, oh, he has okay, he can massage me. It's like,
rub me down, baby.
Yeah, rub me down, especially because he's a good looking guy, right? So all of the women in Malibu are probably going to line up and be like, oh, hey, we've heard.
And if you guys don't think that happens, my oldest had a very attractive Taekwondo instructor, Bulgarian. He was on Bulgarians Dancing with the Stars. He's a world champion. The amount of done that the mommies would show up to Taekwondo, the mommies showed up to Taekwondo and just all sat there like, it was ridiculous. So if you don't think that happens, friends.
Oh, what a weird, strange little world we live in. But okay. Yes.
I'll send you a link to his Instagram.
I used to see that in I want to see this. I used to see that Jason and I had an instructor. It was like 3 or 4 years ago when we lived in LA. And we had an instructor, and it was like a group fitness setting. And there was one main guy who used to be in the NFL. And when all of the women would show up, they would all flirt with him. They would look at him. They would come out, and they would have their best like lemon Lulus on, or Lululemons, whatever they're called. And I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Lemon Lulus.
What?
I was like, basic bitches, shut up.
Yeah, I'm not. I've said this. I'm not fashion forward. Okay.
Yeah, my shopping at Target's not for a photo op. It's actually my life.
Yeah. Sometimes I go out, even if it's like, if I'm like, Jason, do you want to go to dinner or happy hour? And I walk out and I'm like in gym shorts, and he's like, fuck no.
No. Okay. At least, okay. That gets really bad when you're like wearing like women's fitness shorts and we're like trying to leave. I'm like, we're not. A, we're in Florida. B, no. Like, that's not.
I do get a lot of shit here being in Florida as opposed to LA, though. I do have to, this is off topic, but I like my short little like gym shorts for cozy houseware. And like in LA, people were like, okay, girl. In West Hollywood, and here it's like that.
Cozy houseware works.
Homosexuals. I'm like, yes, bitch, it is. I'm here. These are my short lemon Lulus. Okay.
My short lemon Lulus.
Speaking of, it was nice to see Harry show up for his second required episode last night.
Speaking of what?
I don't know.
What did I say that signaled Harry there?
I don't know. I was just going to bring up
super chat and talk about Harry. I love Harry.
Okay. How did he walk away from the accident? He is elderly. He had no immediate chest injury or concussion. Emily knows this very well, especially since she is a lawyer.
Fun fact about Emily. Emily was also an EMT. And Emily has a number of doctors in the family, including my husband, who we tease every holiday that being a dentist is not a real doctor. And he's like, I am a maxillofacial prosthodontist. You can all fuck off. But he did have a broken clavicle, injured shoulder, broken ankle. They didn't give us the rest. I wouldn't have been surprised if he had some chest injury or a concussion. And maybe the concussion is what Erika said was a head injury. We just don't have the full information on that crash. But I imagine, and I also don't know if it was a crash. The sense I got from the Pasadena, Tom Girardi crashed his car, was that he parked somewhere he shouldn't have and got out of the car and fell down a hill. Like, that's what I got from all of that. But because there's no police report or anything. And there should have been if he had taken an ambulance ride. There should have been something, because they would have, if they had to get an ambulance to get him out of a ditch. I mean, how are you getting an 80-year-old she's like, he fell off a cliff. How are you getting an 80-year-old up a cliff with a broken ankle and a broken shoulder and a broken clavicle? They would have had to have extracted him. There would have been a report.
Yeah.
Like the fire department would have had to get him out on a stretcher at least.
Make it make sense, Emily.
Make it make sense. It doesn't, because there's no way he would have walked back up a slope he fell down on a broken ankle at that age.
Okay.
There's just no way. Anyway.
ATL Nina said, I heard mention of one of Tom's partners leaving the firm. I'm sure there is proof that Tom's a crook, and I truly believe Erika's not entirely naive. Yeah,
I don't think she's entirely naive either. I also think when the son-in-law left, it should have raised a lot of questions. I know that Edelson PC, Jay Edelson, was on Laura Casey's podcast and was talking about when he saw the divorce go down. That's when he knew, like, his assumption was, oh, there's no money left. The rats are kind of fleeing the ship, like the Titanic going down. It's time to file this lawsuit and go after it. And that should have been triggered for people too, watching the different partners keep leaving. The thing is that's interesting about California is California doesn't really have a snitch provision in the code of ethics for lawyers. So if you're in other states and you see a lawyer doing something super shady, you're obligated to report it. California doesn't require that because it's seen as potentially being against your duty to your client. So if opposing counsel's like drinking before court, in most jurisdictions, you'd have to be like, Your Honor, this is a problem. But in California, they're like, that could be a win for you. That could be better for your client. You're not obligated to say shit. So it's very interesting that the other lawyers might not have had a duty to say anything. So they chose to keep their mouth shut and just leave. And that also, looking at when people were fleeing this law firm, is a really good indication that it was known and that it all came to a head before these lawsuits.
Okay. All right.
Crazy. You're all like, what is going on with the California bar? Exactly. But I still like my license. Thank you, California. So kind. So kind. I love you.
So kind.
I like being a licensed lawyer. I only get shade for not actively practicing in court on Twitter from other lawyers.
Well, I can only guess. Okay.
It's okay. Well, I come and be shady on your channel, not other channels.
You know, I just to switch it up, I like the Titanic reference because I had a family member who died on the Titanic. So there you go.
Look at you.
Yeah, I'm a part of it. Well, I'm not a part of any history.
You are. You're historical to me.
Thank you, Emily. Okay. Well, I know Jason too, because before we got on here, he's like, I can't wait to, talk to Emily about Salt Lake City. And I'm so curious what she thought because we talked about this. So now we're getting into it, guys. Again, if you haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button. Thank you, Law Nerds, for being in the chat. I see it's so active. Guys.
Isn't it fun? Aren't the Law Nerds great?
I love them. I'm watching this go and it's so distracting because the live chat is going like this.
It's really, really fun. It's nice because I can actually see the live chat on my own streams. It's going so fast, I can't always see it. So it's really, really fun to be able to. I love just being able to talk about the Law Nerds that just want to talk Housewives and they're just here for this conversation. I love it. So,
well,
anyway, we have to talk. We were talking about something else and then we got distracted. So if anybody brings it up, Harry Hamlin. We were going to talk about.
Harry Hamlin.
I love that Rinna. I love that Rinna calls him Harry Hamlin. I love that she's so geeked for him. Like, I love that my husband is also an old man and I love my husband. He putters. He loves to garden. I've loved watching Harry with his like emergency garden and his fire hoses. And I've loved seeing Harry like slow down from work during the pandemic and putter around the house and make food from Italy. And I love that Rinna is so like still fascinated to hear all of his life stories. Like Harry Hamlin's just a fascinating dude. And I really want to hear more from him.
I really enjoy seeing him. My whole thing is they spend so much time apart. I think the only time they spent so much time together was when they were both on Broadway doing Chicago, which I did see them in, both of them.
No way.
And they were fantastic. I have to say, even Lisa Rinna was incredible. They were both amazing. So it was a lot of fun.
I do find it interesting though, like Emily said, it's like, oh, Harry Hamlin's here. I get excited when I see him in the kitchen. Oh, Harry Hamlin.
Because she never sees him.
She never sees him. I think during the pandemic, they've definitely seen each other more.
That's why
he's like, that's enough. Check out.
Yeah, he's like,
new projects.
I need a role. I need a role. He's like, in my next film, I'm playing Tom Girardi. What?
Okay. He's playing Tom Brokaw, right?
Tom Brokaw.
Next.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see the films and the documentaries that come from this when we get to the end of whatever the legal saga is going to be with the Girardis. It'll be the next few years are going to be very interesting. And I know pop culture news moves on much faster than that, and everybody's going to be on to something next. But I'm so fascinated by this. And I'm like, no, I'm writing this one till the end. Like, I need to know what happens. I need to know how this story ends. And it could be a few years before we see it. So.
Do they, if they make videos about Erika and Tom's lives, do they have to pay them for that or no? Because they're public figures.
They're public figures. Now, if they wanted to use clips from Housewives, they'd have to get an agreement with Bravo. Some of the news stuff will be fair use, but yeah, they're public figures. People can talk about you when you're a public figure.
Sarah Paulson was asked last night on Watch What Happens Live, if American Horror Story decided to make a season about the Tom Girardi scandal, which person would you want to play? Would it be Erika? And she's like, hell no, I would want to play Tom Girardi. I was like, of course you would. Of course you would.
Before we talked Harry Hamlin, before we get into Salt Lake City, what did you guys think of the door knocker hair last night with Erika? I need other opinions. With the ring, with the faux pony, like what was...
You can get that. I think someone posted a tweet or something. I saw it somewhere. You can get it for $9.99 on Amazon. The little hanging one.
That's what I'm doing for Halloween. Perfect.
Yes, it's going to be the costume.
I'm not going to make my hair blonde. We're going to keep it purple, but I will do that.
That's amazing. They come in all colors.
It was an interesting moment.
Well, to be fair, I thought it was cool. The only thing I didn't get was it just kind of looked a little like, listen, I'm not the fashion guy, so don't rip me apart, guys. But I felt like it looked a little bit cheap because the bun was like all messy like this in the back, and you could see where her hair actually ended, and then you saw the ring. Whereas I would have thought that they would have somehow made it look like it was just kind of all cohesive.
You know, I don't mean to like jump around too, but last night, I told you this, Adam, but last night we were watching the wedding reveal where Dorit was on the mic, and sometimes production can like, I don't know if they did it for shade or whatever, but when everyone was applauding Dorit, all of a sudden you heard like hundreds of people clapping, and there was like 20 people there. And I was like, this wasn't that great, and there are not that many people there. It was just funny. I don't know. I just wanted to mention that. Why is the
clapping so loud? It would have been funnier if they had brought in like the kids, like the radio kids clapping him. Yay!
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of
good job, Dorit. Thanks for the party.
I thought it was silly on Dorit's part that she ended up coming after, like she changed out of the woman into a dress that kind of, you know, looked better than her wedding dresses. I was like, damn, did you design that one too?
Nope.
That was a bad move.
It was it was a lovely dress. I mean, everybody was definitely dressed to the nines. This cast of all of them really gets into the fashion.
I mean, Garcelle.
I love this look too.
Really? Because Garcelle gave me, I love Garcelle, but this one gave me Big Bird vibes.
No.
I love Garcelle's skin tone looks so good with yellow. So few pale women, those of us that are not melanated, cannot pull off yellow. I've loved every single look Garcelle has brought this year. I really have. The red interview look being my favorite.
Okay. So you're here for Garcelle?
I mean, I'm here for it. I am not here for the bobby pins, but they're very on trend right now, and I like the way she incorporated it. So I can't hate her for embracing a trend that I just don't love.
And I like the fact that she's always smiling, like when she's looking at nice six pack. I love this look. Like,
I love how
good she looks.
I want that shirt. I love it so much.
Yeah, she really is. She's so pretty.
Like, I'm at an age where shoulders are looking good, and that's about all we got. I need it so much.
This scene was funny when like, I speak 4 languages, and she's like, good for you. And she's like, it doesn't make sense in any one of them. And
girl, your 5th language is bullshit. I like your accent.
I kind of love that she went through the different languages. And what did she go through?
Like, didn't speak them all very well.
French?
Funny.
No.
Hebrew, Italian,
and
Spanish,
French.
Yeah.
Hebrew,
French. Yeah.
Oh, was it French? No, Hebrew, Italian, English, and Spanish. Or was it French and Spanish?
I don't know.
It was definitely once Italian. What would happen if Tom passes away, like legally? Thank you, Christian.
I've talked about this a lot because they're in the bankruptcy. Not a lot would change other than the conservatorship would end. I know that sounds kind of dark, but with the bankruptcy going, he's not really an active part of the bankruptcy. They've put out really subpoenas for all the bank records from the law firm. They're going to be deposing people who don't plead the fifth, like his CPA. This is just off and running now in the hands of the bankruptcy trustee. So he's almost become irrelevant to the bankruptcy proceedings. Everything he owns is being sold. He will get a living stipend. So that would end and stay in the bankruptcy estate, and the conservatorship would end. That would be about, I'm sure his family and brothers and kids would be sad, but legally speaking, not much would change.
Why wouldn't everyone just have to, or why wouldn't everyone just plead the fifth if that just makes it to where you don't have to say anything?
They can't all plead the fifth. There has to be the Fifth Amendment is your right against self-incrimination. That generally doesn't count if you're going to be civilly liable. It only counts if you're going to be criminally liable. So the accountant saying, I don't want to say anything, means the accountant knows that the IRS is probably going to have a lot of questions and this could become criminal. But generally when somebody pleads the fifth in court, it's not like TV where it's like, I plead the fifth, and then you don't say anything. You go question by question by question. And it's like, what's your name? I plead the fifth. No, you can't fucking do that. What's your actual name? And then you can plead the fifth to certain questions like, hey, this line item and this line item don't match. Where's the money? I plead the fifth as to that question. It normally goes question by question. So not everyone can do it. And if there's no criminal investigation, and we saw this in the Cosby case, if there's no criminal investigation, you don't have a Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination because you're not incriminating yourself in a criminal way. Civil liability doesn't count.
Okay. And
so
I'm going to bring this next one up really quick because someone just asked this. Cindy, did y'all see that the pictures of that the paparazzi took of Erika shopping at TJ Maxx? Why did that seem so fake to me? And if you guys didn't see the photo, let me see if I can bring it up really quick. This is the photo at TJ Maxx, and it wasn't just you, Cindy. Here we go. So this is her shopping for clothes at TJ Maxx. Is this
Did she call the paps on herself?
I mean, this looks...
Oh my God, we need one of those rise and climbs.
Oh, we do need one of those.
Fair.
Yeah.
That goes up to 80 pounds. Isn't her dog bigger than that?
Oh, yeah. Was he? I know he's big, but...
He's big.
Yeah, this isn't even a good photo op. You don't even know the dog's damn weight. No, honestly...
Does she have another dog?
No, she just has the one.
Maybe he just weighs 80 pounds. I don't know.
She got a new one. She could, honestly, I don't know her life. Like, she could have a new dog that we don't know about, because at this point in time, like, the only people she can probably trust, or the only thing she can trust, would be her dog. So
the thing that's interesting to me is, does she really need more clothes?
No, I think this is exactly what people are calling it. Honestly, this feels like a photo op. This feels like the same thing as like Tom Girardi being photographed outside of Belmont Village in the Valley, where no paparazzi would ever be. You know what I mean?
Unless she's shopping for the victims, which that would be nice.
She should give them the Birkins.
Oh, right.
So
but
they could resell
they
them
deserve it.
No, see, I'm not
on Fashion File.
I'm not. Okay.
I'm just saying Fashion File's great.
Oh, I thought you were saying that I'm not on.
No. Fashion File is a resale site where you can buy luxury goods, jewelry, and what have you. They authenticate everything. Not sponsored.
Kind of like Rebag or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, if you guys have more questions,
I love me some secondhand diamond jewelry. I'm just gonna be honest.
My dad does that at pawn shops. Like, if he wants to go buy my stepmom something really nice for their anniversary, he goes to a pawn shop. Listen, I'm not knocking it, because honestly, my dad comes out with some nice ass shit, because when people get desperate, they sell their good shit. And a lot of times they go to the pawn shops, a lot of regular people. And
it's very true.
You know,
low key, who else has amazing jewelry? You guys don't laugh at me. I'm basic. Costco has some of the best diamond jewelry.
Oh, absolutely. I'm the biggest Costco fan in the world. I love Costco.
Beautiful. Their diamond jewelry really is great.
I'm always staring at their diamonds.
Yeah, but Adam, you and I can't go to Costco together, because I'll sit there for like an hour and a half and go down each aisle to see if there's something I don't have. And he's like, let's go get what we need and let's
don't
leave.
Need 90 different colors of Post-it notes, but I do.
The big pack.
See, I went yesterday. I actually went to Costco yesterday, and I was praying to the Costco gods because Jason sent me back with some shit to return. He ordered dog something on online, so it came in a package like 3 weeks late. So I went to go bring it back, and when I go there, I'm standing and there's this massive line, and I said to Jason, "This line is long as fuck." And then he's like, "It's okay, you can wait in the line. That's fine." And I'm like, "Of course I can."
You've got it, babe.
Then the woman comes around and she's like, "Hey guys, our system just crashed." And I was like, "Yes." So then I went shopping and walking through, and I'm looking for diapers, right? I'm walking around, I'm trying to find diapers because my sister's baby shower is coming up this weekend, and everyone who brings a pair of diapers gets a raffle ticket, some fucking shit, I don't know. So I'm walking around.
Diapers are so needed.
Yeah, diapers are needed. And when this is happening, I'm calling Jason, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. I hate this store. Whereas Jason can walk around all day. He goes through Costco.
This is the last thing I'm going to
Costco. We'll have the best date ever. It'll be so fun.
Absolutely. And the sad thing is I know exactly where those Post-it notes you're talking. I know exactly where they are in my store.
Yeah.
Like I know the store that well, and that's all I'll say about Costco.
What I love about Costco is most of the stores are kind of laid out similarly, so you can find what you need no matter where you are. The Costco in Tennessee, different from the one in Southern California, has a liquor store connected because you can't sell hard liquor in like a grocery store setting. So the liquor store is so good. It's got so much more than just having hard liquor within the Costco in California.
And you don't have to be a Costco member to buy alcohol.
My pops actually just went to the liquor part of Costco here, the same one that we go to, and he came home with this $200 fucking Scotch Dragon. Oh. And he's like, "Look what I got you guys," talking to my uncle, and he's like, "Dad, I don't fucking drink Scotch." And he's like
brandy and that like kind of
yeah.
Chinese looking dragon. It was a really pretty bottle.
It was cool, but he was even like, "How do I open? I don't even know how to." Okay, thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dad.
All right, we need to talk about Salt Lake City. I'll talk about this forever. I like buying alcohol more than my body likes me drinking alcohol, so we always end up with more than we need. Yeah, because I'm like, no, I'll totally make drinks with this one day. No, you won't, Emily. What you're gonna do is get an ice cube and some whiskey, or some sparkling water and some vodka, and that's all you're going to do. Like, you're not making drinks.
You're not
Don't
the only
kid yourself.
One. Yeah. You're not. All right. So getting back to it, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Jason and I have talked about it, and we caught you in the room for a second. So my question is for you, Emily. What were your thoughts on the premiere?
I think that first of all, I love Bravo production, because production's always shady, and I love it. They give us the snippets. They know what we want. They couldn't do anything other than giving us that moment of leading up to the arrest. We learned things that we didn't know. We got to see things that are parallel in the court documents, which is what I'm loving about these seasons, because I've been following these legal stories since while these were filming and before they aired. So it's now getting to watch what I've already covered matching up to what they filmed. And that's fascinating to me. We see the Jen Shaw of it all in the boots and the box braids and the hair. And I wish Whitney hadn't turned off her mic and had left her mic on, because come on now. But we know what that call was because we've seen all the documents, because her lawyers tried to throw out her arrest and tried to throw out statements made after her arrest. So we know that law enforcement went to search her house and then went looking for her. We know that her husband was at the house when law enforcement arrived to execute the search warrant. So her husband called her and was like, the feds are at the house, so you need to come home.
Do they?
I imagine is what he said.
Well, do they just do like a simple like, "Excuse me, hey guys, we have a warrant"? Or do they be like, "Open the fucking door, we're here to get Jen Shaw,
police"?
Like, how
we have a warrant
when she's being indicted on huge crimes? Like, are they nice and calm and like, "Hey, we'll let you come out and hopefully everything's good. We're going to come in and search your
They're not going to break down the door. They probably served a soft warrant, but it is a tech crime, so they needed to secure all the technology, phones, computers, and things like that. So their first priority would have been getting everyone out of the house so people couldn't go to the computer and keyboard wipe them. I've talked about this in other tech-related crimes that I'm covering, like the Duggar crime and stuff like that. They're going to take cell phones first. They're going to go and secure all of the technology because they don't want somebody with a kill switch on their phone being like, okay, we've deleted all the computers. Good luck. Good luck to you, feds.
Do
so they're
people
going to
have
go
them?
secure. Yes. You're not a criminal mastermind, Adam. I'm sorry to break this to you. I'm sorry. But yeah, people have wipe switches on their phones. I've dealt with cases where people have lined their doors with magnets. So when the feds took the computers out of the doors, it wiped the hard drives of all the computers.
Brilliant.
So, right? There
Brilliant.
people who do things that they don't want to be caught for find ways to make sure that if their shit gets caught, it gets wiped. So the feds will go and put them, they call them Faraday bags. They go and put them in these mesh bags so that a internet signal can't come in or out, so that you can't remotely wipe a computer, or a cell phone, or other data storage device. So they would have secured all of that first. They would have been kind. I mean, if somebody is not giving them shit when they're serving a search warrant, they're like, we're here for a search warrant. You need to go sit out here. You're free to go if you're not Jen Shaw, but if you want to stay, we need to search the house. We have a warrant for these things. And they walk in and start pulling everything apart.
Wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
that was our cold opening, is, seeing
Serving the search warrant, coming up at Beauty Lab and Laser or whatever, and looking for Jen Shaw, and the women being like,
what, this is, and what kind of pissed me off about this, and sorry, Jason, because this is Jason's girl that I'm about to talk about here, Whitney. Because we love Whitney. We've had Whitney on my channel, and she's great. But
why is Whitney covered in like hot sauce or chocolate syrup or whatever, getting her ass smacked on television?
That no one needed to see that.
OnlyFans, bitch. What are you doing?
No one needed to see
trying
that.
to have sexy time.
Have sexy time on OnlyFans. At least get paid.
Oh,
God.
yeah.
She's having it on Bravo and getting paid. I mean,
not as much as she can make on OnlyFans.
That's true. That's true. That's why
all she needs to serve is a cake in a bikini when she's totally lit off tequila. That's all we need on Bravo. We'd love that moment. She dropped that fucker 3 times. Like, come on, Whitney. Mess.
Megan, Sue, Emily. Oh, and I'll get back to the Whitney thing really quick. Emily, if convicted, what is the sentence that Jen Shaw is facing? I know that you told us before, but I can't remember. Also, JD, who should be in jail for life, in my opinion. What could he be facing? Who's JD?
Josh Duggar, which is another computer-related reality TV star who's in a bunch of shit with the feds. Jen Shaw, I believe her max is over 20 years. I would need to go and recalculate it because I don't remember off the top of my head. Shockingly, I don't have. I used to, when they were my cases, have all those things like locked into my memory, and I don't. With Duggar, it's also upwards of 20 years. It's 2 counts for him. But in the last documents I was covering, the AUSA said they thought the sentencing after trial would be in that 10-year range, which is probably about right for him. Jen Shaw, I need to go look at what the other defendants are getting, because she, after trial, is probably in the 10 to 15 year range, though I could see her getting a little bit less depending on culpability. But the feds are saying she's one of the kind of masterminds of this, and she's one of the most culpable. So we'll see. I mean, we've seen people participate in horrific crimes like the Nexium scandal and get like 3 years. So the federal sentencing doesn't tend to slam you with prison time the same way some state level crimes do.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope that answers that, Megan. And getting back to Whitney really quick, the only thing that I didn't like about what she said was, I think somebody at this table is the reason that the feds knew that Jen Shaw was outside of Beauty Lab. It's like, no, that person's not at this fucking table. That person is Coach Shaw. And I hate that they're trying to pin this on Meredith, because obviously, like you said, when they knocked on the door, Coach Shaw was the one who answered, and he called her and was like, listen, you need to get home. And when they said,
yeah, you don't want the cameras to catch. I'm sure it was, you're filming. You don't want the cameras to catch this. Because if she wanted the cameras to catch it, wouldn't she have just stayed there?
Yes. And that had to have been, I mean, that would have been mortifying, embarrassing, scary, not really knowing like the full magnitude of what's going on, what you're being charged with, what this time looks like.
She was being charged with.
She did?
Look.
You think so?
Look.
Criminal mastermind, not me.
She was the last defendant to get charged. This is the third round of prosecutions for this business opportunity scam. There have been 2 other rounds of 10 plus defendants each that have already been prosecuted and gone to prison. People she worked directly with have already been indicted a year before this was filming. She's already been deposed regarding these businesses by the FTC in 2016. She knew if the feds were coming knocking what it was about because she'd already seen everyone she was involved in this scam with already get arrested, including the person that she has the assault restraining order from in New York who was involved in this too. She absolutely knows. She knows. The feds raided one of the sales floors she worked on back in 2019. So, it wasn't like, oh, the feds are here, I wonder why. It's like, time's up.
Do you think that do we know if Jen Shah was still actively participating in this shit while, up until the point that she got arrested? Or did she
They charged her with this conspiracy for money laundering and conspiracy to commit wire fraud from 2012 to 2021. So they charged her as participating in it up until March 2021. So that's what the grand jury indicted on. Not that it's hard to get a grand jury to indict. So
that's crazy to me. She knows she knew that maybe this was coming sooner than later, but then she just signs a contract to do a reality show.
And she didn't.
Does it surprise you though, seeing her personality on the show?
I mean, listen, no, it doesn't, because we have friends who would love to be famous and do all that, and Jen just spews, I want to be famous. I want my face everywhere. Yeah, no, she doesn't.
And I'm sure the calculation on that was, if this goes down, I think Jen believes her own shit and thinks that everyone else is just stupid and what she was doing is fine. And I think that she goes, well, even if I do get arrested, look at Teresa Giudice. She's sold books. She's stayed on the show. She's been fine. I think that was a calculated choice based on how the network has treated other housewives that have gotten into shit. This is the first housewife who did it themselves. This is the first housewife who it's not the husband. The allegations are against her business, her behavior, her victims, not, oh, my husband did this and I signed some shit. Her. And also, I don't know if the network will treat that differently at the end of the day. I mean, if she goes to jail for 15 years, it sure will.
Well, yeah, then Salt Lake City will probably be canned by then. They're like, well, we had a great 15-year run, and all of a sudden we get a whole new. Jen Shah's going to come out looking. If she got put away for 15 years, she would come out looking like a totally different Shah. Okay.
Yeah, they don't go for the filler and the Botox in custody, which no shade to filler and Botox, we love them both, but. That's not going to happen in custody. She would be a whole different Jen Shah. I hope she would write a book while she's in. Gosh, it would just be very interesting. But yeah, I think she chose. I think she knew that this could happen and she chose. And the women are trying to make it this, it happened in Jersey too, right? It's like, who told the feds on Teresa? Teresa told on herself. The IRS started investigating her because of her behavior on the show. Did anybody call up the feds and be like, we know you're investigating, here's a little tea? Maybe, but they're trying to play that moment out in Salt Lake City. I'm like, we've been here with Caroline Manzo. We've done this.
Right. And I don't know, not to mention, like you said, she is the only housewife who has actually allegedly committed this crime, right? But there's hundreds of victims. So this is, or over 100 victims. This is kind of next level. Whereas Teresa Giudice had her name signed on some documents. She served her prison sentence. And that was kind of like a fluke, the way that they put a stop to production for Teresa. They don't do that, but it just went to show this is the Teresa show. So they were going to stop production to make sure that they caught that moment on camera. Sorry, ladies, you're not getting your paycheck until she gets out of prison. That's how that went.
If you want to know who's valuable, it's just interesting because they're going to go round and round and round with Jen Shah and who knew what and who said what to the feds. The thing is, multiple of her co-defendants pled. 2 of them pled within a month and a half of her getting indicted. So if anyone is talking to the feds about Jen Shah, it's the other co-defendants that had pled before she got indicted who were like, oh, by the way, here's how you tie this piece together. Please give me a a lighter sentence. And we saw that in the court documents. They listed 9 different cooperating witnesses. Well, those cooperating witnesses can also be co-defendants. So other people have spoken her name. And I'm sure Stuart Smith is going to too, because we know he's going to take a plea. They've already notified the court of it. So I'm sure he's just like, hey, by the way, her. Did you watch the show? I just do what she says. It's totally not me. Jen Shaw has done this to herself. Look, after the FTC investigated her, instead of shutting down the businesses, which most people would have done, she said, I know what we're going to do. We're going to move all of our telephone communications to Telegram, which doesn't show up on your phone records, which doesn't show up in your texting records. It's like a WhatsApp app that can be very secure. By the way, if you don't want the government tracing what you talk about on your phone, Telegram is a great way to do it. I've seen a lot of people on social media saying, hey, I'm moving to a Telegram messaging group off of Instagram, off of Twitter, because I have nowhere else to have my audience, because Twitter's going to shut me down for what I'm saying. That aside, she moved to Telegram so that her conversations were more secure and less traceable. She told everyone to start building LLCs not under their own names, under other names in Wyoming, which, like Delaware, you don't have to have a name underneath the LLC. So instead of saying, hey, this is maybe a bad idea, the feds don't like the business model, she said, I know. We were too open with it. We need to be sneakier. And that's how this is going to continue to work, because it's so much on the up and up. And that's what's going to get her in the end.
Well, actually, Darla has a great question. Do you think Coach knew the whole situation with his wife, where her kids kept in the dark, not knowing anything? What do you think? Honestly, how could her husband not know? Same thing. Like, and there's hypocrisy here too. And I have to say this in defense of Erika. People are being super hard on Erika, but not hard at all on Coach Shaw. And she's being charged criminally. Tom Girardi is not. And I understand it's 2 totally different things, but nobody's wondering, like, did Coach Shaw know? Did he not know that his wife was making millions of dollars? How are you making millions of dollars? He's a bright man. Did he not know?
Is he a lawyer?
Is he a lawyer?
He was before, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, lawyer brain is lawyer brain, whether you're practicing or not. If you've been a lawyer, you've been a lawyer. Your brain works a certain way. Like, it just... So I think, again, it's also interesting to me to watch the way that the internet has treated Jen Shaw versus the way they've treated Erika. But Jen Shaw doesn't have a song called Expensive. Jen Shaw hasn't been thirst trapping on Instagram. You know, the women are being treated differently, but between the 2 allegations, Jen Shaw's are worse. She's the one who's taking money out of elderly victims' pockets. With Erika, she's the one benefiting from the money, but she didn't do the thing. So it's interesting to me to see the different treatment between the 2. And some of it, I think, is Erika's persona. But nobody's asking about Coach Shaw and what he knew. And again, Coach Shaw could have been like, you know what, I'm traveling. But this, again, they're alleging back to 2012. This is not new.
This is a long time. So this is...
And I want to see what the women knew, because all of the women seem to be like, what did we know? What didn't we know? We saw who was just saying on Watch, was it Watch What Happens? That they knew that the business, was it Heather?
Oh, yeah.
They knew the business didn't make sense, but they didn't know it was illegal. It was just like, oh, it seemed like a scammy MLM or something, but it didn't seem like it was illegal. So
she said a lot of silly shit on that Watch What Happens. But mind you, this was her first live appearance, because, like she said, I'm a COVID housewife. But she came on there and she's like, I love criminals. I'm not a fan of the man. Yeah, I knew that her business wasn't right. Like, stop saying shit.
Do these ladies have publicists? Like, I know some do. Lisa had one, but like, not her. I don't think all of them. Like, I don't think Heather has the same amount of money that the other women do. She's definitely not making the same amount of money. It from everything that I have learned from covering this stuff, and y'all know way more about production than I do, it seems that in the early seasons, the women are footing those bills and not getting paid as much as they are spending to show the lifestyle to stay on these shows. And that maybe doesn't wash until later on. And I think Heather's like, yeah, there's possibly a bump for the business, but then COVID,
all the bumps she's going to get from her business on the show, her business is going to be closed during a lot of the time when this was airing, and it would have been beneficial to her business. So it's just interesting to see it play out. But yeah, Heather kills me with her freaking extensions. Like, just come on.
I like how that's what you. I like how
that's what I'm mad about.
Yes, because I'm kind of pissed off at a totally different situation here. Actually, I'm going to bring this up really quick.
Bring it up. Mention it all.
Mention it all.
So I received a text message last night from one of Mary Cosby's family members. Okay, and he said, "Here, he sent me. Oh, I have to send this to you because it's attorney documents." He said, "Here's my question, Adam. Odd that Mary started a podcast because she isn't holding church services, and yet she isn't on any of the episodes on her own podcast. What happened to the one they were supposedly recording during episode 1 of season 2? And then he also said,
why does this not surprise me?
I haven't even looked.
Because there's so many. Oh gosh. Oh, okay. That was, I can't say that one, but we will talk about this after. Well, not.
I love that you're like, I'm mentioning it at all. Just kidding. I'm not mentioning it.
Oh,
well,
right.
The audience is going to be left hanging.
He wants to come on and share what he knows. So I'm going to let him. You
should absolutely do that, because I think there's a lot of questions about Mary Cosby. People have asked me, because there were some police reports that came out about contributing to delinquency of a minor. People asked me about that. And I didn't make a lot of comments about it because in my experience working in juvenile, a lot of those reports were kids who ran away from household situations and other parents who were like, you can stay with me. Like, I know what's going on in your home. It's fine. You can stay with me. And those situations, though technically criminal, like morally, you're just like, yeah, but I get it if a kid's in a household where they don't feel safe. So I haven't commented on that because we haven't had more. But I know people think she's a cult leader. So that'll be fascinating.
Well, we were told last time that I did an interview with one of her family members that she would actually go around to, the different people of the church, and she would tell them, like, we need you to sign over your mortgage, and the church needs more money. And if you don't do it, you're going to hell. And then we heard some audio of people who weren't giving enough money to the tithing, especially one incident in particular was on one of her birthdays. And she's like, how dare you? You're going to hell. You didn't give me, you're cheap, and God does not love you. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy to watch.
It was almost as bad as her stopping the guy on the podcast that she was with that was filmed, stopping him while he was praying to show him how praying is done. That was so disrespectful to me. Like, everyone prays differently to whoever you pray to. There's no right or wrong way. And it just, her ignorance and ego just like really, I was like, ugh, because I was telling Adam this, I missed her kookiness a little bit and I didn't realize it until I saw her again. But then after that moment, I'm like, oh, you're still the same. I wanted to like you, but I can't.
I need them to dive into the hoarder house more. Like,
yes, please.
I need more about the hoarder house. I need to know why her grandpa husband wasn't there for like half of COVID.
That's what I was going to ask you. Okay. So for you, if your husband, say, because you're from LA, right? If your husband is in Tennessee and you're in LA and he says to you, I don't feel comfortable flying during COVID, would you just be like, okay, you know what? You stay there, or would you get a Sprinter van for him? Would you
rent a car, babe? It'll be fine.
Just yeah. Would you
also, we have kids.
They have a kid.
Yeah, exactly. We have kids. Like, no, I don't expect to go through a pandemic as a single human. I'm married. I'm married for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is I have a person. Like, this is my person. I need my person. COVID was hard. COVID's still hard. I can't imagine doing that by yourself and then having your person being like, I'm going to just chill in Florida.
Yeah. Where they're not really like, it's
warm. They don't really give a shit about COVID. I'm just staying here.
They shut down for like literally a month. But yeah, there's beaches, there's all kinds of shit. I'm going to stay here. When this was said, but then she also said, they sleep in different bedrooms. Okay. So there's obviously like a difference, and there's this relation.
I would imagine somebody snores like a motherfucker. I mean, that's not uncommon.
Or it's uncomfortable to hook up with your grandmother's ex-husband.
But
we've also heard
that. Say what everybody's thinking, Adam. Or that.
And we've also heard, and I can say this, but I also will say allegedly, when I did the interview with, her family member, he said that he found out that Mary has a boyfriend and she's, she has like this own situation going on. And she came to her husband with this, Robert Sr., the family member, came to the husband with this information, and he got a scathing call from Mary, like, how dare you? I'll make sure that, allegedly, none of the rest of the congregation talks to you. I'll make sure that you're out of the family, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, this is true. I know this information. And she was like, don't ever do that to me again. So
interesting, because that leans towards their marriage is an understanding. And they all have a little bit of a life on the side, which I can't imagine goes well in the church.
Right.
Hypocrisy is never a good look. I'm just, in a general way.
And to be fair, we also heard that right before her grandmother passed away, she was kicked out of the church for alleged drug use and cheating on her husband.
The grandmother was kicked out?
No, the grandmother.
Mary was kicked out.
Mary
was married before?
Or was it her boyfriend? It was one of them. Yeah.
Either way,
I think it was her husband. It was her husband.
The whole Mary story of last season, it just didn't make sense, as she was like, no, my grandmother said I had to marry him to take over the church. And then it was like, no, my grandmother said, take my place in all things. And I interpreted it to mean this. Like, it feels like maybe her grandmother's wishes did not include marrying the grandpa. Like, something is very strange. It's just, I'm fascinated by it because it's all just so weird. Like, the first season of Salt Lake City, I was trying to explain to Brian, and he was just like, I'm sorry, what did you just say? And I'm like, so she's married to her step grandpa, but it seems like, and he's like, what?
Yeah, no. So I just had to look this up too. The Faith Temple, they revealed that Mary Cosby was a married woman when she caught Bishop Cosby's eye. Mary had a husband before she married the bishop. And what happened was he was going to the congregation and telling them, allegedly, based off of what this family member said, that the husband was making Mary commit certain acts, and it was something that she didn't want to do. So he wanted the whole congregation to pray and figure out a way to kind of get Mary out of this marriage, because you're not really supposed to leave your marriage. You're supposed to try to make it work. But instead, what he did was he convinced the congregation that she was being sort of abused in this relationship, allegedly, and that's why it was okay. And then what happened was,
rules for me, but not for thee.
Right. And then what they were saying was that Mama is what they called her, the grandmother. Mama was sending signs from heaven, and so was God telling the bishop, I want you to take care of Mary, and Mary's going to take care of you. So I want you guys to be together. So they would pray as a congregation over the decision as to whether or not Mary and the bishop should get married, which is
it's very interesting. It's so interesting. And it's interesting to me too, that they call it, they named it with temple in the name in Salt Lake City, which gives Mormon vibes, even though it's a Christian church. It's very interesting to me. Can I ask you both what you thought of Whitney Rose's water bottle moment, indicating that she just sucks tea for cash? Can we just talk about that for a second? Like, if Jason, this is apparently your girl. What?
Oh, I don't know that.
Oh, you're gonna hold back now here, friend? Because you had a lot to say when the episode came out when we weren't on camera.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Somebody's pleading the fifth.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm going to plead the fifth.
Yeah,
just on that question.
I am not answering. Adam, what did you think?
I appreciate. I honestly, I was like, obviously it was a joke, but she was just like, she thought it was funny and cute, quirky. It looked like a little in bad taste, but I like Whitney. I like the fact that she dropped the fucking cake 3 times. I'm like,
and kept trying so hard.
At this point,
but this is the side of Adam no one sees either. This is Adam. especially after a few drinks, carrying anything. He runs into walls, he drops things, he can't find things. It was just funny because I'm like, someone else is like my fiance. It's so funny. I found it very relatable.
Jason, just to be fair, this is a story that happened the other day at home, and we were not drinking when this happened. But Jason said to me, I got so annoyed. I think it was because you made me walk the dogs like 3 times that day, and you were supposed to walk the dogs one of them. But then he looks at me and he says, the other night when you went to get a glass out of the pantry or the cabinet, and you dropped it and broke it, I didn't get mad at you. And I'm like, no fucking shit. Why would you get mad? That was an accident. I'm clumsy. Why would you get mad at me?
We don't have stem glasses anymore.
We can't. Yeah, that's true.
We cannot have stem glasses because they all get broken. I think the last set we had was like 6, and we got those in like March. They're all gone. All of them are gone.
We don't have stemmed glasses either.
So
and
we don't
even
do that
then,
anymore.
I was trying to record a podcast and I knocked a whiskey glass, like a rocks glass, over
like the
on
nice
my
ones.
keyboard. I'm like, how do you even knock that over? Like, it's just, yeah, we don't have stemmed glasses. Even the champagne glasses are stemless. I knock over a step glass in a second. But it was I get the feeling, because Whitney's what, 34-ish?
Yep. Yeah,
she's in the 30s. I get the sense she's trying to hang with the stepkids and prove that she's like, no, I'm in my 20s. I'm one of y'all. I'm super cool. Even though my
cool
husband's
mom.
old. Yeah, she is. I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. And she gets herself into these things where she's trying too hard to prove that she's free and edgy. And that's where the water bottle, like, I'm tired of, insinuating that she's doing sexual favors for money. I felt like she's trying to be like, see, I'm so free, I can talk about this, which feels just like she's trying too hard because she's still a bit insecure.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's where I took it. I was like, girl, wait, just wait till you hit your 40s and you're going to stop making those jokes. And you're going to be like, you don't need to tell people you're a bad bitch to be a bad bitch, honey. It's fine. Like, just keep your man happy.
You should put that on a t-shirt.
Like, if you have to tell people you're a bad bitch, you're either a rapper or you're not actually a bad bitch. People should get that vibe from you anyway.
Right.
People will be like, oh, if she's drinking too much and I piss her off, she might actually punch me in the face. Like, if you had, it's just, Whitney, that's I think is still coming into her own.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about funny people too. Like, either you're funny or you're not. You have those funny bones, and it's with anything, right? You are or you're not. But when you try, it doesn't look fun.
Yeah, not that I can't relate to being an insecure mid-30 something married to somebody 11 years my senior, because I totally relate. So it's not like, not trying to be harsh on Whitney. It's just I just see it. It's just hard when you're exploring that also on national television, because it doesn't her husband have a job. Does he have to go to work where all his coworkers are going to be like that's what would happen at my workplace if somebody's spouse said that on television forever. They would come in and their entire office would be filled with water bottles. That's what would happen.
Poor Whitney. She's like, listen, she's getting into the groove of it. She's gonna learn eventually. Whitney, I'm over here. I'm trying to root for you, okay, friend. I
also wonder how her husband felt. I mean, even if she meant it, clearly she meant it with some cheekiness, but also maybe not really. She's like, look, I'm free. I can do and say whatever I want, but he still has to go to work.
Yeah, it can be disrespectful. Yeah, I totally get that.
Oh, sorry. I wanted to ask really quick, Emily, because of course, we're at 1 hour and 42 minutes, and I know that you retired before you came on here. So I don't welcome to what it's like streaming with me. It's like the launders are like,
I know.
Oh yeah, if we don't.
I thought this was gonna be like a short. Adam's like, I don't want to bug her. She's tired, and then
I'm still tired.
It hasn't felt like an hour and whatever.
I know it's such a great conversation with y'all, so the time just flies, and I don't think the chat has diminished at all. The chat is still hanging. They're like,
I love you guys. Awesome.
A water bottle? No wonder she stays smiling. LOL. Okay. Let's get off the water bottle. That was the newbie. Did he win?
New housewife.
Yes, this is my question for you, Emily, because I know Jason's thoughts. He's loving her so far.
Is that your question? Am I loving her?
I
want to know more about her. I love getting to hear some of her story. I love getting diversity and backgrounds for housewives. Like when we started with Orange County, it was like, hey, I'm rich and I live in a gated community. So I love seeing more of the housewife stories. I love the way they shared her story and brought in pictures of her story. I'm really interested to see where it goes. I also like the connection of the kids being best friends and these women actually knowing each other since they were pregnant with their younger kids. It feels like old school Jersey when the women actually had real life connections to each other.
It's way more authentic. It's way more authentic. And you can just, like you said, you can like read it on the camera.
Yeah. And I think the kids are hilarious, but also you guys are both over here giving shit to Whitney because of what her husband has to go through when he goes to work. But Whitney didn't call her husband a butterface. Okay.
That's true. She didn't call her husband a butterface. That's true. That's fair. She definitely dogged her husband a little bit.
She did.
I don't think it was as bad as insinuating that Whitney gives sexual favors for cash, but all right.
Okay. And did you catch the little girl's joke, her little daughter's joke when she was asked about her grades?
What did she say? No.
Lisa Barlow said, "So how's school? Like how's everything going? Are you doing good?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm doing great."
Oh,
duh. She's like,
Asians?
She's like, "I'm making all A's. Duh. That's why they call us Asians, not Bijans." And I was like, I love this little girl.
I do too, and I love that that's probably a joke within their family. I think it's great, but it's cute to see kids that are comfortable in front of the camera. Not all kids are, and to see a family that I'm looking forward to. But we know from the previews she's going to mix it up later in the season. She's not shy about being on. She's not shy about being rich. She's not shy about being on camera, and she's not shy about kind of taking sides. And I think we're going to see this cast split, and it's going to be her and Jen Shaw and Lisa, and then Meredith and Whitney and Heather.
Especially after
Mary. I don't know where Mary's going to fall in the mix with
Mary in her closet. In her
closet with her mannequins.
With her mannequins.
Fucking mannequins.
They're terrifying. The whole situation's terrifying. And the fact
Hoarder
that
house is terrifying. She needs to be on an episode of Hoarders. Like, it's so confusing.
She doesn't even remember, like, she's like, this is my let's just rename her because I forgot the name, but this is my family member, Stella. I don't know what her last name is, but we're family and she cleans my house. And I'm like, you sound like such an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, you sound so incredibly just dismissive, disrespectful, rude. This is just my family member who's did you say an elitist? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Elitist and asshole.
Absolutely.
But I think by family member, it's probably someone at her church, right? Not actual blood family, but church family.
No, she said
wasn't like her second cousin or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's her actual family member. But
okay.
Whose
name I don't know.
Before we end this off, I have one last situation I want to bring up to you, and it is the Meredith Marks being pissed off over the tweets that were allegedly homophobic liked by Jen Shaw. What are your thoughts?
I don't remember what the tweets were.
Someone should call Brooks a sissy bitch and slap him in the face, and also
that's not okay.
And also Brooks is a twink that doesn't know shit, something like that.
Oh, something about Brooks not knowing a vagina. Great.
And
okay,
also,
cool.
Yes.
That's not all right. How old is Brooks?
He's like 20 or 21, 22.
Brooks is still one of the kids.
Yeah.
And again, liking shady tweets, everyone's going to know that you liked the tweet. Like, that's an intentional awareness. Like, people are going to know. Again, slapping Brooks and calling him a sissy bitch. Are we liking a tweet that's insinuating violence against a 20-year-old who really
not
stole
only
the season
is
from
she
you?
liking though, she's commenting.
She
on one of them she said, "I agree 100%." Now, I mean, like, I do have to say, kids really, really should be off limits, no matter how much he is exposed on the show with his mom. Like, even his mother said, Meredith said, he hasn't revealed anything to me about his sexuality, and like, I can relate being a young 21-year-old, and so can Adam. Like, I wasn't there yet, whether you think or you don't think it's not. That is so off limits, and it just makes Jen Shaw is disgusting. She's just you are a mother. You're a mother too. It's weird.
It's no one else's place to make assumptions about Brooks. I think he's great. I thought he was a lot of fun on the show, but I also think you know, people on Twitter are going to do what they do, but the cast should maintain that kids are off limits. And we've seen this play out on other shows. It wasn't an analogy. Cody, I get that he is technically an adult, but in the context of how these casts work, he is still a child of the cast. The same way that I said, look, coming after Gia, even if it's an analogy, it just doesn't sit well with me. You could have done something better. She's still one of the kids, even though she is over the age of 18. It never sits well with me, but I didn't think Lisa saying, oh, these are the same situations, were it all the same situations. Like the beef with Heather and Jen is a lot deeper than the beef with, you know, Heather and Lisa over like them saying that Lisa was being kind of bitchy. Like it's just not the same thing.
Not the same
and
thing.
I'm confused by Lisa's behavior with that.
So I don't understand why Lisa is such a proponent to bring Meredith and Jen to the table. Like, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I don't think she has any kind of sympathy or even empathy with Meredith.
Meredith is
interesting
sitting back
to me too. Sorry, Adam.
No,
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It's interesting to me too, because they're all moms. And if you come for my kid on social media, I will fucking fight you. Like, don't come for my kids. And I don't have my kids like on my channel much. And of course, my corner of the internet is very, very small, but I'm very protective of my kids. I can understand why Meredith would be protective of her kids as well, because it's not that she's mad that other people said it on Twitter. She's mad that Jen's co-signing it and coming after him. And you know what? If she didn't have underwear on and was acting completely out of pocket, it's okay for Brooks to call it out and be like, she's acting wild and it made me really uncomfortable. That's a fair statement. She was out of pocket and it made all of us uncomfortable. So I don't understand why Lisa doesn't see that as a mom, because if people came for her kids, I can't imagine she would sit back and be cool with it.
And to be fair too, like I really don't know a whole lot of mom. Like Jason's mom would be the same way. He would, if like, she'll sit there and she'll joke about Jason and she'll throw shade and she's funny as hell when she does it. But if you do it, she will look at you and like probably rip your head off. My stepmom one time, my old stepmom splashed me in the face with a whole thing of tea because she got pissed off at me. I was like 13 years old, called me the F word because she thought I was gay, but I didn't tell anybody until I was 22. And then my mom, I called my mom crying about it. I lived in Tennessee. She lived in Florida. My mom was getting on the flight that night. And she's like, I'm going to whoop this woman's ass. And my husband is going to pay to get me out of jail. I don't care. So moms are like, well,
we're seeing Erika Girardi's mom coming for people on Twitter.
Yeah.
Like Erika Girardi's mom is like, fuck this shit. Stop talking about my daughter who's almost 50. Like that doesn't go away. And we've seen it with internet drama too. We've seen like Ethan Klein's mom mix it up with YouTube drama. Like when you're a mom, you're a mom. And you're protective of your kids no matter what their ages are. So I'm just not surprised that rift is never going to heal. I don't know why Lisa's playing both sides of that. I guess maybe we'll find out. It'll be interesting. But yeah, I don't understand Lisa not getting it.
Lisa is the Kyle of Salt Lake.
Oh God.
Pick a lane.
Oh God.
And she's like, we're going with the middle part. We're going with the straight hair forever. We've got a signature look. You're not Anna Wintour, Lisa. I mean, she's a beautiful woman, but it's going to be very interesting seeing the women try to figure out the behind the scenes of how the feds work when none of them have a background in any of it and they don't have the legal documents yet. It's going to be very interesting to watch the speculation swirl into a mess, culminating with Meredith saying who's calling who a fraud.
Yeah, and I think that after, like, honestly, on the inside that Mary Cosby and Meredith are, especially after what's going on with Jen Shaw currently in this season with Meredith and what happened last season with Mary, they're sitting there like, yeah, sorry. All right. Well, with that,
it's going to be an interesting season. It's going to have much better ratings. I wonder what the ratings bump will be for people catching up with the first season, because of all the storylines that are hard to pick up, Salt Lake, if you didn't watch season 1, would be very hard to just lean into. So
yeah, no, and it's so easy though, guys. If you haven't watched season one, before you watch season 2, you binge it in 2 days. It's not that hard.
It's not hard.
Just leave it on in the background. You don't even have to pay attention.
Yes,
it was
you do.
kind of
Just wait. Just wait till the names start getting called. I mean, never on another series have we heard somebody called a grandfather effer. Like it was a moment.
And season 1, literally every episode you had Jen Shaw from the very first episode pop off. Every episode.
Yep.
It was like literally just you knew it was going to happen. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? And then episode 2.
I loved the production clipped that in when she was talking about her marriage struggling. And production's like, oh, I wonder why. Here. It was funny. I didn't see the super chat from Brandy. Sorry.
Oh.
I know it went up quick. I didn't know if we were answering it.
Erica's
mom trying to get everyone else to pay the victims that Tom violated. Talk about overprotective. Yep. She was like, why isn't the cast paying back the victims? The cast was their lawyer that embezzled their funds. That's why. Like, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, Emily. Well, I know that we're almost at 2 hours, and I also know that you were a little bit tired before you came on. This is the longest that we've ever live streamed together. So, Jason, I know that you weren't expecting this.
No, this is great. This has been a great conversation. And every time I'm on here with you, Emily, I learn like so much. So
I'm so ready.
I appreciate the conversation.
Did she say she was an EMT? Yes.
And and you played water polo, right? Am I not mistaken? Water polo.
Men's water polo in high school, and then I played women's water polo in college because our high school didn't have a women's team. I've lived a random life. Someday I'll tell you about almost dropping a body on the way to the morgue. It's a story for over drinks.
Okay.
That's a BravoCon story. That's a BravoCon story. After we get kicked out because Erica Girardi gets us kicked out of the whatever for having certain people.
We have asked the question everyone are asking, but I don't know if you're getting these comments on social, but I will see numerous comments of, I don't watch Emily anymore. She's defending Erica. I'm like, I'm not defending Erica. I'm asking the questions that we need to ask. But if you have any questions and if you ask about Tom's behavior, people are like, oh, you're defending her. No, I just have questions. But I think a lot of the coverage to Erica has been unfair. I also think that it's really interesting to watch how hard people have gone after Erica, but they're not going hard after Jen Shaw. But Jen Shaw's the one who's alleged to have done the things. It's very interesting watching the court of public opinion treat these two women very differently and not talk about Coach Shaw at all. Because Coach Shaw benefited from Jen Shaw. I mean, I'm sure the reason they're leasing these houses is because then there's nothing for the feds to confiscate because there's no property owned. So they're leasing all these houses. It's just money going in and not coming back. It's a very interesting tack to go with that. So, and nobody's like, oh, well, Coach Shaw benefited. Yeah, clearly he did. He's living in the houses. How are those paid for? What's his coaching salary? Is it paying? Those houses are what? $30,000 a month to rent?
No, they're 10.
Are they?
Yeah, 10,000 a month, but he's making about.
I need to go live in Salt Lake City.
He's making
right?
500,000 a year. So, but even still, when you're making 500,000 a year, generally you're not going to spend 120,000 plus on a rental. That
generally not.
Yeah, generally not. And if you do, you're just living life, man.
I mean, clearly they're living life. I mean, the less money you have in the bank, the less there is for the feds to take at the end of the day.
So let's just spend it all.
Yep. It's going to be very interesting to see. Anyway, we've wrapped up 7 times. I've now made you, we've now brought the internet hate to your door with like, they're defending Erica. It's like, no, we have questions.
That's what I was going to say. Jason goes through my comments all the time too. And he's like, people really are slamming you over defending Erica. And I'm like, I didn't defend shit. I'm just saying devil's advocate, not criminally charged. We have to wait. There's more. I'm not Lisa Rinna over here, just like not asking the questions. I have the questions, but honestly, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'm still going to make the videos and ask the questions. I'm sorry, guys. Until this is over. I just think
we've been fair asking questions, and I don't think we can get kicked out of BravoCon for being fair.
Yes. Sorry, Erica and Renee Chahoy.
I mean, you understand why mom's mad. I tell my parents don't know how to use social media, so I've definitely told them not to, but I get texts occasionally. My coworkers are like, I was scrolling through Reddit this morning and saw your name. I'm like, don't read it. And they're like, no, there's some other person talking about you. And I'm like, yeah, it's YouTube drama. Don't worry about it. But it's pretty funny to watch people in real life start to see what happens in internet life. And I get like screenshots of like Facebook groups where people are talking about my videos and like, she defended Erika, and it's other lawyers being like, oh no, we have questions. I mean, when you look at culpability from a objective standpoint, the most culpable person in the Girardi situation is Tom Girardi.
Right.
That's all.
Sorry, guys. Just
very true.
Keep up. It'll be over one day.
It'll be over one day. I would love to see an auction of Erika's stuff. Like, I will bid on the diamond encrusted "See You Next Tuesday" necklace. Like, it's iconic. We'll see if that stuff all gets auctioned, though. Can you imagine? Like the auction. Sorry, we're saying goodbye, but we're not. The auction just filed their fees and stuff with regard to the Tom Girardi's law firm Girardi Keese auction, the one where a bunch of people got his old awards and Heather McDonald got like a coat hanger and all this other stuff. The auction house said they never anticipated as many people, and they had over 1,000 active bidders in the auction, and they were not prepared for the amount of interest in this auction. They're like, it's an office furniture auction. I'm like, but no, it's a Girardi auction, and the Bravo watchers want his Lawyer of the Year plaque or a bottle of wine or the Cadillac or the underwear that was still in a box that who knows who it was purchased for. So it was very interesting to watch the auction get kind of slammed with that, and then see if there was ever an auction for Erika's stuff. I imagine that it would be bananas.
Oh, that would be more than 1,000 people, because that's all designer shit. People would be like, I'll take the Cartier ring, I'll take the little circle extension thing from last night's episode, I'll take the Hermes Birkin, Chanel bag.
Yeah, I think they would have had to have an auction where you have to send in like a financial statement to prove that you're allowed to bid in it for Erika's stuff. It's just interesting for the law firm how many bidders there were, and they got over $200,000 going back into the law firm to go out to the people who owe stuff, which was pretty interesting. So
right, just tens of millions of dollars more, and we'll be good.
I mean, right? 200,000 takes a very small fraction out of the $100 million that is allegedly owed, but we'll see.
Yeah. Okay, we'll just keep chipping away here.
They're like, Emily won't stop talking. We have to go. I adore you both. Thank you for having me on again.
Emily, thank you so much for joining us. And as always,
well, thank you guys for letting me join you, because I feel like you guys have done this and I get to jump
always. On. I love that you're here.
It's
I
so
love
fun
having the conversation. I want to talk more about your love for Whitney Rose as we come back. And every time the Housewives try to share relationship stuff like that, every single time it makes me cringe. When it was like Eddie and Tamara in the bathtub and the bubble bath, it made me cringe.
Yeah.
Every time it's like, this is what you're choosing to do. And every time I'm like, how awkward is that for the camera crew that are like, look, we're signed up for you to like get drunk and fall over and drop a cake. Like, I'm not signed up for like whatever weird sex games you guys want to get into. Like, I'm just not here for it. Like the poor camera crew.
Yeah.
Things they've seen.
There's been multiple scenes with different housewives. Karen Huger and Ray Huger trying to have sexy time. No. We've seen a lot of shit. But
we have.
No, I definitely, as the season plays out and we see more about the Jen Shah legal drama, we'll definitely have to have you back, because there's a lot of shit that we will have to talk about. And I look forward to picking it all apart.
And reunion stuff.
That will be in 5 weeks.
Stop.
Nope.
5 weeks?
5 weeks. It's coming. Yep.
All right. I can wait. I'm patient.
Yep. You'll have to wait there, friend. 5 weeks. They said it last night on Watch What Happens Live.
Did they? See,
yeah.
I should watch What Happens Live, and I didn't. I went to bed.
It's okay. Normally I do too. Actually, I did too. I watched it this morning in the bathtub. So.
Ooh, it's a good idea. All right. I swear I'll let you go. See, now we've hit the 2-hour mark. All right. Now we can
Look at that.
Wow.
First time ever. Only for Emily D. Baker.
Welcome to an Emily D. Baker length stream. It's so fun. Just watch how much mid-roll you can put into this video. I'm just telling you, you're going to be like, ooh, I get why they do long streams. I get it.
I mean, it's a revelation.
Mm-hmm.
And then after this, I'm going to be like, shit, I don't know if I can do long streams ever again. No, I could do it. I could do it if I have a conversation like this with you.
Same.
It's very different. If I'm on here and it's like, I'm just talking. It's a special kind of person that I have to do it with, for sure. For sure, I can't do this with everybody.
I'm gonna get a shirt that says "I'm Up and Adam's special kind of person."
I like that. I like that. I'll send you one.
I appreciate both of you. Thank you for letting me have the conversation about Housewives. Thank you to all of your audience for being here for the wandering conversations that is when I come on live, because your content is normally very concise and to the point, and we talk about all the things. It's not an episode. It's more of like a kiki. It's just us chatting about Housewives, and I love
like Bravo Hot Topic.
It is.
Bravo Hot Topic. And thank you to all the law nerds for joining us, guys. And thank you for everyone for your amazing questions, the super chats, super stickers, and our mods in the room. Guys, if you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button. A lot of you guys are law nerds, so you're obviously already subscribed to Emily D. Baker. And if you're not subscribed to Emily D. Baker, check out the description of this video and go subscribe right now. And also, Jason just started his channel a couple weeks ago, so go get subscribed for daily content. And also more shit coming out about the Royals and Bravo. I have to stop. I have to change my mouth because Emily D. Baker's here and she has me cussing and shit. Okay. All right, Emily. We love it. Appreciate you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. See you next time. Don't forget to smash that like button. I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. And I will see you so very soon. Bye, 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 bye.